Life Youth Podcasts. Hope you enjoy the message.
Is that what I was talking about? And it's basically God's faithfulness and how good He is to us. And I'm going to start quite a long lot. I just want to share my testimony with you. And basically, my life, I don't know. It's when I was about 5 years old, so in 2000, the year 2000, God called my family to move to West Africa, and we did. And until last summer, I've lived in West Africa. We've served God in West Africa, and it's been a massive part of my life. Obviously, I've spent 11 years of my life living overseas. I've grown up overseas. Most of my friends have been people either from a different country or other people who've lived overseas, and I've met at conferences and things like that. England's been sort of a holiday place rather than a home, but I don't know, Africa's quite good. But yeah, basically, obviously there's lots of things that I've learned over the years, and and one of the things is how close a friend God can be, because sometimes it's hard to make friends with people who don't speak the same language, or people who don't understand where you are at, and people who don't understand the God in the way you do. And so that's something that God's become to me as a friend. But about this time last year, I think it was about March last year, we started to think about the coming year, so this year, and we realised that there was going to be a problem, because we felt that God was calling our family to move back to England, and that was quite a big thing, because it was going to be 11 or 12 years, because we decided God was calling us back in the next 1 year or 2 years. So 11 or 12 years overseas, and we're going to be back in England. And so it's quite a big move. But the next thing was, what about me? Because if I came back this summer, then I'd have been halfway through my A-levels, and you can't. And because I was in a French school in Africa, you can't skip from one school to the next, or one system to the French system to the English system without that easy. I'd have had to start a year back and start A-levels again. Or if my whole family had come back last summer, then they would have, my brother would have been halfway through GCSEs, and the same problem. There would have been the same problem. Doing all the GCSEs in 1 year would have been a nightmare. So we prayed about it a lot, and talked about the other possibilities, like homeschooling, and and basically came to the decision that God was calling me to come back a year earlier than the rest of my family. And it wasn't a light decision. It was one I spent a long time thinking about. And in the end decided, actually, God, I feel that you're wanting me to do this, and I've looked at the other possibilities, and to be fair, they're not actually going to work. So I made that decision, and as soon as I decided that, we all started praying. And there were lots of big problems we had to overcome. We're living overseas. We didn't have a lot of money or anything like that. Also, where would I live? Who would I live with? What school would I go to? What church would I go to? Looking at Lauren doing the sign of the cross there, his favourite St. Mary's. There were lots of questions, and among them were, the first thoughts were to come back to Hull, because this is where we left from. This is where the church which backs us out in Africa and supports us, this is where they are. And obviously I had a few friends in that church there, amongst the youth. And I felt it was, and I really wanted to come back to Hull. And so we still needed a school and also a family to stay with, and we really, really prayed about them, and we felt that God was saying St. Mary's, and we looked at a lot of schools, and I know last summer when 2 summers ago, when we first sort of had the very idea that we might come back, we had a look at a few schools like Hessel High, and so basically we prayed about it, and we talked to people in our church here, not this church, but HCC, and they said, yes, St. Mary's is where a lot of our kids go, and it's a really brilliant school. So we looked into that, and basically St. Mary's said, yeah, you've got a place if you want to come. And so we felt that was God leading us that way. So then we carried on praying about where I could go, and we had some thoughts, and we started letting people know that I'd be coming back in the summer, and we started to think about who I could stay with. And there's several families at church with kids my age, and one of the families is the Horrigans, and they've had they've got a daughter my age and two, an older daughter and an older son, both at university now. And we felt that God was leading us to them. But I know my mum took a step of faith in this. She said, right, God, we feel you want Stephen to live there, but we pray that you'd speak to them first before we do. And so my mum took on the, I wouldn't have been able to do it, but basically she emailed Ruth Horrigan, which is the mother of the family I'm staying with, and said, would you consider taking Stephen on for the year? And the next day she got a reply saying, it's funny that 2 weeks ago I was cleaning my elder son's room who's at university, and I thought, oh, Stephen could stay here. And so, yeah, basically we emailed a bit, had one Skype call with them, and yeah, they were quite happy to have me for the year, and their daughter was like the idea of it, so they were open to me staying. So in this, this isn't a family. This is a family that my parents knew quite well before we came, but haven't really kept up good contact with, and it happens quite a lot. We had a lot of friends who we sort of lost contact with. I mean, once we're over for the summer, they'll invite us around for a meal or something. But I think, yeah, I'd never really known the Horrigans, and this is 10 years after, or 11 years after we last saw them, and we turned up on their house in last September, and 2 days and to have a meal with them, and 2 days later I moved in, and Mum flew back to Africa to join the rest of my family, and yeah, so since then life's been a massive change. But there's definitely one thing that I've learned, which is God's with us whatever we're doing, and He really, really takes care of us. And that the story of how He provided the home and the school and the church and place to live, and everything like that's so precious to me, because it proves how faithful God is. And now my family are moving back this summer. I can't wait for that. But you notice I'm wearing a shirt that they gave me when I went to see. I didn't intend to wear it today. I just before coming here, I realised that it actually coincided with what I was going to speak with. But on the front it says "I miss," and on the back it's got their names. But they gave it to me when I moved out to see them. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to them coming back. But we're coming back without a house. We're coming back to my brother's got into St Mary's, but we don't know whether my sister's going to go to Kelvin or St Mary's or another school if God got that planned for her. We don't know what Dad's job's going to be. There's a lot of things that we're unsure of, but we have. It's weird. It's in the face of that, we have absolute faith that God will provide, and that's something that I've been able to bear witness to over and over again this year. Is God's provided for me, and He's not just satisfied needs. He's blessed me so much. Over Christmas, I went to stay out, and my family invited me down to theirs in Newcastle, up to theirs in Newcastle, and it was such a good time. And I came out of that thinking, God, you've blessed me so much to be with the people I'm staying with. The family I'm staying with are absolutely brilliant. Obviously, I know them a lot better than I did in September, but they're still brilliant. And it's been, just God's provision for me this year has been absolutely amazing. He's helped me find friends at school. He's helped me find 2 youth groups. He's and made friends at church. I've made I've started, and as well I've kept up friendships with other people who are living overseas, and that's been really precious because we've been able to Skype and pray for each other about once a week almost. But yeah, God's just been so good to me. And I wanted to read, on the way here, I suddenly thought, actually, I don't have a passage from the Bible to support what I'm saying. But I immediately thought, okay, I know which one I want to talk about. I had to borrow a Bible and find it, but now I found it. It's in Matthew chapter 6, and it's about Jesus just talking about how much God takes care of us. It's from about verse 25 onwards, but I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's quite long. But this is what Jesus is speaking to his disciples, and he's telling them, don't worry. He says, so do not worry, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For the pagans run after these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you. Therefore, don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. And yeah, that's true. It's not been easy coming back. It's one of the hardest thing I've done in my life, to leave my family, to step into a completely unknown environment, try and make lots of new friends, trying to handle a school in a different language, a different schooling system. It's been massively difficult, but every day God's been with me, and that's something that I've known is you get to know, I think as you go through your life, you get to know God, different sides of God, different facets of God's personality, of who he is. And before I came here, I knew him as a friend, and that friendship has grown so much deeper because he's taken the place of my parents. Well, not taken the place, but he's become a father. He's become a provider more than anything, and just that close relation, knowing that he can provide. He can do it. He is God. He is so powerful, and he can just so do it. It's just so wonderful. And yeah, I really wanted to share that fact that whatever you go through in your life, God knows you, and he knows your needs, and he's willing to take care of you. He wants to take care of you, and all you have to do is trust in him. He's Jehovah Jireh, the provider, and yeah, just trust in him.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this message, why not come along to one of our youth meetings? We meet every Friday at New Life Church Hall, 7:30 till 9:30.